I made over $2 million with a simple Instagram funnel, and today I'm revealing it all in this private masterclass I hosted. From Instagram content tactics to my entire sales strategy, and I am even answering questions live to help you scale your business with Instagram. This is stuff people normally pay me thousands for, so pay close attention and let's dive in. Hello everyone, it is so nice to meet you virtually. So basically, this is the funnel that I've been running for crazy to say, but almost 2 years now on the back end of my Instagram account. And it's all fueled by organic social media content. So basically, you're probably like, who is this woman? Like, who is this that's talking to us? So I want to give you a little bit of background to share a little bit more about like how I came up with this and how this has worked for me. I really believe that information is free, and what people are actually selling when it comes to coaching and courses is implementation. It's not information, because we all have unlimited access to information with the internet, YouTube, Google, blogs, anything you need is anywhere. What you're selling is community, support, and really like how to put this into practice. And that's what I believe in. So in January 2020 is when my journey kind of kick-started, because I found out that I was $25,000 in debt. It was student loan debt, and it was just like a massive undertaking because I was working a corporate job as a financial advisor. I started out part-time and I was making after taxes $300 a week in New York City. And as you guys know, that is really not a livable wage in New York City. So I realized that I had to do something different. So by September of 2020, I paid off all of my debt by reselling clothes on Poshmark. And now it might sound super foreign of like, okay, how do these two stories go hand in hand? But it's actually because I use my Instagram account to funnel to my Poshmark storefront. So basically what I did was I generated a bunch of traffic and then I sent them over to my Poshmark page, and I was like, hey, buy my stuff on Poshmark. Now, what I also did by April of 2021, I was debt free. I actually was still living in Long Island, which is where I'm from with my family. I finally moved to New York City, and as soon as I moved to New York City, my Instagram account started blowing up. I started sharing content about living in New York and things like that. And I grew my online community to over 100K across TikTok and Instagram. And that was also the year I launched my first course. I ended that year with 6 figures. It was my first 6-figure year, my first like half a year in business, because I quit my job in June of 2021. And then by 2024, where we are now, I've done over $2.5 million in cash in this short period of time using this funnel that I'm going to teach you guys today. So this is currently what we're using to do about 100K a month. On peak months, we could do anywhere up to 200K. And this is the funnel that is really like scalable, especially for people who want to do content on social media. So to give you guys some context, I've actually been on Instagram since 2011. I think it's really cool that accounts now show you. If you just go to someone's profile and you click the top 3 dots in the right corner, you can see when they started their account. So the account that you guys can find me and follow me on is the same one I've had since I first started, and I posted really embarrassing pictures that I've now deleted. So no matter how hard you stalk me, you can't find them. But don't go looking at my oldest videos on YouTube, because that's where the embarrassing stuff is. In 2021, right before I moved to New York City, like I was telling you guys about, I only had about 6,000 followers. So, I had maybe like 2,000 that were like friends and family and just people I knew. And I've accumulated from like 2011 to 2020. And then from 2020 to 2021, I grew about 6,000. Fast forward to where I'm at now, right? 2021 to now 2024, I'm at over 82,000. This number is a little bit higher because I have some reels going viral right now. So my account's growing like about 200 new followers a day. So what I would say here is that Instagram growth is like that. Like you can just have really massive growth spurts. And I think this is what's super interesting is like most times it's not slow and steady, but for the past 2 years that I've been running, this funnel that I'm teaching you guys, I've had at least 50 new followers a day. And even, when some months or some weeks are slow and things like that, I'm still averaging that 50 followers a day. And I think that's really something that goes to show that the more you put in, the more you're going to get out, and why consistency is key. So some foundations that I want to really go through here are that if you want to get repeatable outcomes like 50 followers a day, 200 followers a day, you need a repeatable system. So I want to take a breath here and I want to take a little pulse check. Do you feel like you have a repeatable content system right now for your brand and your business? Let me know in the chat. Do you feel like you have a rinse and repeat content system where you're like, Julia, I do these same 5 things every day and I get these same 5 results every day. Not yet. I'm working on building one. Not yet. Okay, well, you're in the right place. So this just kind of gave me an idea that I would love to know, like, what is your business? Whether you want to give me like a 10-mile long blurb or you want to give me like 2 sentences to just let me know, type to me in the chat and let me know like what you sell, what you do, so I can have a little context of the room so I can make sure this is applicable to you. Monique is a functional health practitioner for high performing women. Amazing. Patricia says connectivity coaching, helping people leverage and grow their personal and professional networks. Cool. Career coach for social scientists, help them earn 6 figures without going back to school. Awesome. Liana says coaching women over 50 on the next phase of life. I love that. I have a few clients that do that as well. Coaching to help corporate business women connect back to their bodies, intuition, to trust themselves in building the future career they want. Okay, really good stuff. So what I want to share with you guys is a little bit, I'm actually going to open up the agenda here so we can make sure that we stay on track. But I really want to lay some foundations on what it took to get to this level, content creation at scale, but also online education at scale. So I haven't mentioned yet, but I actually sell my own program, which is called the Conscious Creator Academy. And basically what we do is we help people, coaches, done-for-you service providers, online course creators, scale with Instagram organic as a tool. Use Instagram as a funnel for lead generation. So what I do is I use Instagram to speak to my ideal clients every single day and get new leads into my pipeline. So this is really important because to get the company to 7 figures and beyond was really all about like, how do we get the same result over and over and over again? And that's when it comes down to really having a system. So a few lessons that I think are just really good for the foundational stuff is that you don't wait to go to the gym after you lose 30 pounds. The cost of not investing in yourself, right? Time, money, and energy is costing you more than failing. So I want to plop this in here because you guys are here today to learn, to expand your knowledge. Like you've invested in the Genius Lab. And I think that's a really great foundation for you to be like, okay, I have this like open mind. Now I'm here to learn this new skill. Now, lesson number 2 is to just really trim the fat in your life. And I love this saying because I don't necessarily think Netflix is bad. I was watching Netflix last night. Like I love a good night where I'm just like, I just want to veg on the couch. I want to rot. For those of you that are familiar with that term, my clients were like, Julia, what is rotting? I'm 65 years old. I don't know what rotting means. And I was like, just look it up on TikTok. So I think you have to think about too, like what is so important to you in your life so that you could be like a hell yes for the things you want and like a hell no for the things you're not. Okay. Another one of my favorite quotes is you cannot fail if you do not quit. Number 4 is the founder's curse, which is the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is. So regardless of what stage you're at in business, if you can't like take a vacation or you can't step away for a day and things are going to go crumbling down, that's how you know there's some work to do behind the scenes. Lesson number 5 is that your actions are not dictated by your past. They're pulled forward by your future. So what you're learning today, I want you to take it with you and have it pull you forward rather than think like, oh, I sucked at content last year. I only posted 1 time this week. Throw all of that in the garbage and let's just pull forward from what you're learning today. Number 6, one of my favorite diagrams. And I mean, I know you guys are going to get this recording, but you might just want to screenshot this. And by the way, if you post anything, please tag me so I can introduce myself and I can meet you. My handle is right here. I know it's complicated. My family's from Italy, but that's a whole other story. So I love this diagram because it really shows you that there's always going to be ups and downs, but it's all about you learning how to ride the wave. So like take a picture, take a screenshot, Google this diagram so you can like paste it on your whiteboard, your phone background. This is so important. Okay. Now, what I also say is working out is hard, but so is being overweight. Choose your hard. So what I want you to think about too is like sometimes social media can feel like such a big challenge, right? It can feel like, oh, like I have to post so much and I have to gut on my stories. And I don't know, I know I'm dressed up today, but I promise I look like a hermit most other days. And I'm like, oh, I hate being on camera sometimes, which is funny because if you go to my page, it's all my face. But what I've done is I've actually been able to build a system where I only have to show up like once a month to film new content and once like every 6 weeks for my YouTube content. So this is what gets to be fun is that you get to really think about like, how do I want to build this thing and how can it fit into my life so that you don't feel like your life has to fit into your business, right? I know Chloe's a big advocate for that, and so am I. So what you want to think about is like, how can I be the 1% when it comes to social media, when it comes to content, and let's build this funnel in a way that's going to work for you. Okay. So basically it's a 4-step funnel. It's fueled by content, and then it pushes to building relationships, and then it pushes to sales, and then it pushes to transformation. So what do I mean by this? Well, content is your lead generation machine. So views, likes, and comments, they're just vanity metrics, right? Like one of my reels is almost about to hit 1 million views that we posted last week. Now that's great. But if we don't actually have a system for us to make those sales on the back end of all those leads that are coming through, it's kind of just like pouring water into a bucket with holes in it. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you know how to get eyeballs on your content, but then how do you turn those eyeballs into actual dollars? And that's where step 2 comes in, which is relationships. And this is my favorite piece, and honestly where most people get stuck. So relationships are the backbone of your business. So what I'm going to ask you guys is, if you had a coffee shop, right? And someone walked in the front door, you were the only one working, you had no employees, it was your coffee shop, it was your first day, you're standing behind the counter, someone walks in the door, what do? Let me know in the chat. You have a coffee shop, someone walks in the door, and you're standing behind the counter. What's the first thing you would naturally do if someone walked in the door? Greet them warmly. Okay. So with that in mind, when was the last time you reached out to someone that followed you and said, hey, thanks for coming to my shop? Let me know in the chat. Oh, I love that one, Carissa. Hi, do you want to try a sample? That's a really good one. So tell me, when's the last time you greeted someone on your social media account? Wow, never. Right? And this is like the light bulb moment of like, yeah, that light bulb should be flickering on right now, right? So this is what I want you to think about, is that when we think about the online space, it's often like intimidating because it's awkward, right? Think about the first time you posted a piece of content. It's awkward to hold your phone up and talk to a camera, but you got comfortable, you got used to it. So I want you to start greeting people that walk in your coffee shop, AKA follow you, comment on your reels, like your stuff. I want you to greet people because this is how we build relationships on this app. And this is where your customers are going to come from, okay? The relationships are the backbone of your business. And oftentimes we forget that these are human beings behind the screen. So what I want to follow up and ask you from here is, where do you sign most of your clients from? Is it your in real life network? Is it your Instagram account, your email list? Like, where do most of your clients come from? Let me know in the chat. In real life, okay, good. And Instagram, okay, awesome. Just starting, so no clients yet. In real life, what clients? I love it, Carissa. That's the energy. LinkedIn so far. Okay, great. P.S. This works for LinkedIn. I have one of my clients who only does LinkedIn, doesn't even do Instagram, and she's absolutely crushing it with the same strategy. So it really works for any platform. Just starting as well. Okay, awesome. So what I want you to think about is, for those of you that said in real life, like Yukino and Anne, when you think about the in real life, it's so natural to be like, hey, what do you do? Or like, hey, why'd you come to this networking event? Or like, hey, so funny bumping into you. I want you to start approaching your social media account like that. Like, these were real people in a networking event. How would you break the ice with them? Okay. So that's super important. So we already talked about that analogy. I forgot that I even had it here. I just maybe like memorized it at this point. But on Instagram, right, it's the same way. After you start building the relationship, how do I go in for the kill, right? How do I ask for the sale? Well, sales is a delicate dance, right? It's not really a secret skill. It's energy. So I actually have a copywriter, and she messaged me today and she was like, I want to make the newsletter all about like sales. And basically, like, we had some clients be like, how do I sell on Instagram? Or some people in our email list being like, how do I sell on Instagram? Basically, what I told her is like, if someone came to you and they were like bleeding out, right? You saw them in the street, in the concrete jungle of New York. You're walking in New York, someone comes to you, they're bleeding out, and you have a Band-Aid in your pocket. And they're like, help, like okay, maybe bleeding out's excessive. They have a cut. They have a cut, they're bleeding, right? You have a Band-Aid in your pocket, and they're like, I need help. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to just walk away and not help this person, right? Because I don't know, like maybe they don't want my help. Maybe they don't want my Band-Aid. Your natural instinct is like, oh, hey, I have a Band-Aid in my pocket. Doesn't matter who it is. This is how I genuinely feel about sales. If you have the solution to someone's problem, you're doing a disservice by not selling to them. But what happens is if we scroll back up to here, most people just go content in for the kill sales, and they're not going to build the relationship. In a fight or flight situation of you having the band-aid, maybe you're going to just go right in for the kill because someone's asking for help. And what I would consider in that case is when someone flies into your inbox and they're like, how can I work with you? It's probably going to be a little bit of an easier transition. But if it's someone like, hey, thanks for coming to my coffee shop, do you want a free sample? I forgot who said that, but you are on the right track, because that's what I call building a relationship, the free sample. So the freebies, the nurture email sequences, the guides, that's where you're going to pull people from the free content right into your freebie to nurture, to build that relationship, and then go in for the sale. And that's where we're going to start thinking about your sales process. So are you going to do a sales call? Are you going to do a live launch? Are you going to do a webinar? Are you going to do a challenge? There's so many ways this sales process can look. So I don't want you to get tripped up on that, because honestly, that's the easy part. What's hard is nurturing that relationship and adding a ton of value, okay? And then lastly, before we really open this up for Q&A, because I want to make sure we get all your pressing content questions answered, is transformation. So what I would say is, at the end of the day, like, you have to sell something for this to work, right? So it's like, I would be doing you a disservice if I just taught you how to go viral and all these leads are just like chilling there, right? Maybe if you have like a humor account, but for business owners, you need sales, right? So what I would say is, like, an amazing product is what's going to fuel the business. So like, for example, something that we teach our students is how to create a really amazing offer. And that offer in most cases is an online course, a coaching program, one-on-one coaching, a done-for-you service like copywriting. You need something to sell. So if you don't have something to sell, then what is the point of being on Instagram, right? As a business owner, right? I know you could be like me, just doom scrolling on a Friday night, but that's a different story. What I want you to think about too, in terms of your funnel, is what is actually fueling this funnel on the back end, and that's your offer. And that's where your content ideas are going to come from, because if we come back to our diagram here, what we want to think about is, how do I go from content to relationship to sale to transformation? Well, if we start with what's the product, right? This offer is the Genius Lab. My offer is the Conscious Creator Academy. What's your offer? Then you can create a freebie. You can create an application funnel or a live launch or a 5-day challenge. And then the content becomes simple because you know what you're selling. So this is the context for the funnel and how this works. And basically, when you come to an Instagram page like mine, you see like all these comments and this ManyChat and these stories and, these videos. But what's actually going on in the back end is this. So what I want to leave room for the rest of this training is, of course, if you have any questions like regarding the entire funnel, by all means. But if you really want to hone it in on content, like, that is my specialty. So what I usually do with my students, and Miona, let me know if it's okay, I just have them raise their hands and we just kind of go one-on-one hot seat. Does that work for you guys, or do you want them to type it in the chat? Okay, perfect. So typically what I'll ask my clients to do is just kind of go to the bottom of the screen, react, raise your hand. And then what we could do is we can get through as many questions as we can until the top of the hour. So anything you guys have related to the funnel or to content creation, Instagram, social media in general, I'm here for it. So let's dive in. All right, Patricia, let's do it.
I guess the issue I'm having is that the social media account that I have now was my personal account. So it is 99% my friends and family, which is great. And some of them are interested in the coaching that I'm doing, and sure, I would love to coach them. But I also just like cringe every time I think about trying to charge somebody what I would charge a customer off the street that is somebody I've known my whole life. So I'm just curious if you have any tips as I'm thinking about like how to grow my audience from just like people that are close to me, because I didn't start over new, like the content there is my personal content. So
yeah. And how many followers do you have?
Like 1,300.
Okay. So right now, I totally know that feeling, because I also started my personal account. That's funny story in 2020. That's why I actually posted on TikTok first because I didn't want anyone to see what I was doing on Instagram. So like I totally feel you. Now it's funny because I'm like an Instagram guru. But what I would say is like you want to focus on creating top of funnel content. Have you heard of this term before?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to create content that can really generate leads at scale, eyeballs at scale, reach at scale, has like viral potential. Because right now, what you're stuck in is like only the current people following you are seeing the content. And to break out of that, we need to create a strategy for how to get more eyeballs from like people that don't know you. And the way in which we do that is that top of funnel where someone doesn't have to know you to understand what your content is about. So what's your niche, for example?
So I'm doing the connect. It's really around networking and growing the
Networking.
network. Yeah.
Okay. So a great piece of content for you would be like, and once again, this is like not my niche, so I'm going to just try my best here. I worked a corporate job for like a year and a half, so I know a little bit about networking. So I would say like point of view, you bought a $30 a day WeWork pass and no one's talking to you. Like something like that where it's like the common person that doesn't know you would like laugh and think that's funny, like if that's your style. And it's basically like getting inside the person's head thinking like, oh, if I go to WeWork, I'll make friends and I'll network. But then they realize like they have to be approachable and they have to start up the conversation with people. And that's the actual caption. And that's a kind of post that has viral potential.
How does something become viral? Is it hashtags? Is it reels? Is it the length of it? Because if it's just my friends and family that are seeing it, is it me asking them to like share things if they like things like?
Yeah, great question. So it's the hook. So like what I share with you, the hook basically has to break out of what your current audience would understand. So like for example, if you just posted something that's so like personal to you that only your friends and family will understand, it's probably not going to like pop off with the algorithm. But if you can post something that is a pain point or a dream outcome of what your ideal client is Google searching, that is a good hook that's going to pop off. Another thing is videos that loop. So for example, I'll just pull up my Instagram account to give you an example of what a video that loops means. So I was talking to you guys about my viral video that's almost at 1 million views. Well, the reason why it's viral is because it's fast paced and it continues to loop. So you keep watching the video and then it just starts over. Instagram does this with all of our videos naturally, but the way in which the video is set up is you can't really tell when it starts or stops. You just keep watching because it's just going back to the beginning.
Got it.
How does that feel for you?
Helpful.
Awesome. Let's move on to Anne. Or Ann Alicia. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Ann Alicia.
Hello.
So the question that I've been wondering about is really the balance of showing up authentically as yourself and not oversharing your either personal life or personal like opinions about the world, especially like in the landscape we're in America right now, and balancing that like as a business account. And so I just wondered if you could talk about your experience with that.
Okay, I'm maybe not the best person to ask because I'm a chronic oversharer. Like sometimes I'm like, I might as well just put my social security number out there because I'm giving so much information. But no, I think you have to think about like, where is my own boundary? So like, that's something that you have to like sit with and tap into where it's like, where are some things that I just want to keep in my personal life? So like, for example, I love to cook and bake and I like to show my recipes like maybe after the fact, but I'm not going to be posting my recipes and being like, here's the step-by-step, because then I feel like it would lose the fun. Like the whole fun of it is actually like being in the moment and enjoying it, not needing to like monetize every area of my life. So I would challenge you to like sit with and think about like, what are the things I want to keep like just me? Like, what are the things I want to just do for me and not do for the outside? But on the other end of the spectrum, I also want you to think about like, what are the parts of me that make me unique that could really tie into the brand story? So like, for example, I have like no passion to monetize anything about like relationships, like my relationship with my partner. But talking about my relationship with my partner is really a big part of my brand story because I naturally attract like female entrepreneurs. And I know a lot of my people often struggle with like, I'm this powerhouse woman. I'm like this really successful, ambitious ambitious woman, like I'm struggling to attract a healthy man. So that's a part of my life that I enjoy sharing about that really helps develop my brand storyline, but it doesn't directly associate to like, oh, I saw this post with her partner, now I'm going to buy from her.
Yeah, that was super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I love this question because I think too, especially like teaching Instagram to people, I've really had to think of my own boundaries where it's like, oh, like, and sometimes it's like a blessing and a curse because it's like, well, I know this thing would go viral, but I don't really want to share it. And I think that's where you have to think about like, where's my own personal boundary? And I would challenge everyone in this room to do that because I do it often myself.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Yukino.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering what kind of resources you would recommend for us to get like inspiration for our content. I know
Mm.
there's like the 10 by 10 like challenge and like resources out there for like best hooks.
Mhm.
But I was wondering like if you had any other suggestions or where you get your inspiration from.
Great question. So basically, what I do is I keep a running list in my notes app. And actually, one step beyond, I only started doing this about a month or two ago, is I actually post all my original ideas on Threads. And then what I do is I take about 2 hours a week to just like sit and write, because that's kind of the format that I'm enjoying most right now. And it wasn't always like that. I used to just like sit and record like 2 hours of short form videos. So it's okay to like change and adapt, but I'll post everything that I think about throughout the week on Threads. And then usually like on Saturday mornings, because my head is super clear, I'll just sit and I'll write. And I'll write like 5 carousel ideas and 3 talking head ideas and, you know, things like that. In terms of like where to look for inspiration, I think you just have to like explore yourself a little bit. So like for me, I notice like when I go on long walks or I listen to a podcast or I watch something like I watch a movie that has no like educational purposes, but more like creative. Like I like end of the world movies. So sometimes I'll just watch something so unrelated to what I do and it sparks my creativity for for my business because it's so different. So stuff like that. And then lastly is research and development. So what's your niche?
My niche is sustainable fashion.
Okay, perfect. So what I would do is I would just consume a ton of sustainable fashion content, but from the angle of I'm looking to draw inspiration, because there's definitely a balance where it's like, this is an art. And when we're consuming content, we want to make sure we don't fall into the trap of like comparison and fall into the trap of like, I'm not doing enough, because I've been there one too many times. I still go there, but we want to more look at it from an angle of like what performed well about this video and how can I make it my own?
And would you say like the hook format and all of that comes with like watching the content also? Or is there like a formula?
Yeah, I mean, I have a Instagram growth guide. I would highly recommend checking it out. So what I can do is I can send it to you guys here. If you guys want to check it out, I'll type it in the chat. These are my 77 best growth tips for right now that I'm currently using on my account. And I would recommend this, but I would say like on top of this guide, it's definitely like doing that research and development and like consuming content in a constructive way.
Cool.
All right, we got 2 more. So Carissa.
Hi. So I was wondering, so I am doing content for both LinkedIn and Instagram.
Mhm.
I have slightly different offers for each platform right now.
Mhm.
But I've been trying to create some content that I can use on both. So you mentioned you have a client who uses LinkedIn. So was there any advice you gave them that was maybe slightly different than growing on Instagram?
So what I worked on with that client specifically was more of her back-end sales process. So probably like the other parts of the funnel where she pretty much did the content herself. One thing that I did give her that could help you is just more like direct calls to action posts. So what is your audience on LinkedIn like right now? Like how many, is it followers? Is that what they call it?
They call it, well, you can have followers and connections.
Okay.
So I have over 500 connections, and I think I have like 30 more followers than I do connections.
Okay. So I would say there, like, I really am not the LinkedIn strategy person. My friend does really good stuff on LinkedIn. I'll type her name in the chat. Her name's Lara. She has a pretty decently priced course as well on LinkedIn content. So I think she would be a great resource there. But in terms of like what to post, I would say just more storytelling content. So, for example, like my carousels are very storytelling focused versus my reels are very lead generation focused. So, for example, this is like you have to read all the slides for it to make sense. So, what I would say here is like something more where it's like they have to keep reading to, listen to the story versus these reels are very like short, punchy, and then it's like opt in so I could teach you more.
Thank you. I don't know why my camera's not working today.
You're fine. Perfect. All right. And now Monique.
I have
Hello.
2 quick questions.
Sure.
First one is the Instagram bio. So I've actually read your 77 things.
Nice.
I love your structure, but if we're just starting out, because all of us are, and we don't have like basically proof or evidence of a transformation, because I feel like that is the most powerful line in your whole bio. So what would we do in this scenario?
So, what is your transformation? Why did you start this business?
Basically, I'm a functional health practitioner, and I feel like I just want to help high-performing women. You can't be the best you're going to be if you don't have your health. It's your first priority. You have to prioritize your health before you have anything else. Otherwise, you're never going to be as successful as you think you are.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay. And have you ever gone through a transformation that inspired you to be passionate about health?
Yeah, for sure. Like I actually just recently changed my niche because I was so acne focused. I was like about helping women heal acne, which was my niche for a very long time. So my health was like, I had the world's worst health. Like gut experts were like, your health is like the worst I've ever seen. And now like I have the most insane wellness routine, insane system. So it's like, yeah, that's why I've like pivoted in a way, because I'm so wellness focused and I want other women to have the same. So,
okay, I love this. So, when we're talking about a transformation, it doesn't always have to be some like crazy thing, right? So, what I want you to think about is what I call to my clients your personal transformation story. So, for anyone that's in Monique's shoes, like you want to think about, why did I get started? What is like my thing that I went through? So like, for example, what you see in my bio now took me 4 years. But what my bio used to say was negative 25K in debt to debt free in 6 months. Then it was negative 25K in debt to 6-figure coach. Then it was 7 figures in 12 months. Now it's creator to CEO, 2.5 million. So it's always evolving. And it could be your own story. So like, for example, something I also teach in my guide is about your pinned posts. So like, for example, when I hit $1 million for the first time last year, I made this case study post on myself. So like you could easily do a case study on yourself, and I would just ChatGPT it and be like, give me a punchy 5-word transformation from my personal story. And that's what you're going to put in there, because right now you are your best testimonial.
Yeah, perfect. Second question, really quickly is, I find it, so when I restarted a business account. Do you know it's so hard to grow from 0 upwards? Like the first, I feel like, and what I have been told a million times is the first 1,000 is so hard to grow. And then it's like Instagram understands. Obviously, I've changed my niche, so it's a little bit more broader because it will attract more people than just people that have acne. But like, honestly, I am consistent. I do so much, but it's really hard. It's so hard to get that first one. So what would be your best ideas to get more visibility?
I would definitely say that top of funnel content, like I was saying, I forgot who asked it. It was the first question we went over, that top of funnel. It was about Patricia with the networking. So same thing, like that really top of funnel stuff. I actually have a client in your niche. Her name's Robin. Her name is Nutrition by Robin, if you want to look her up. And she is actually all about how to holistically heal your acne. And we've been working like really hard on her content, and she's been getting awesome lead flow from the content. So what I would say is like that more like before and after stuff works really well. I would also stitch or repost viral videos in your niche. So like if there's like a viral video from like a big influencer, like, I don't know, Hailey Bieber, Kim Kardashian, that's about like skin or about gut health or something like that, you could stitch them or you can like respond and react to them. So things like that, you basically want to like have more viral ideas and viral concepts. And then once you start getting it flowing, you could trickle it down to be a little bit more niche.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions? How are we feeling? Let me know in the chat. Give me like your favorite emoji that would represent how you feel right now. Give me an emoji in the chat while we wait and see another like minute or two if there's any other questions. Trying to translate to my niche. Yes, good. That takes practice. Like honestly, it doesn't come overnight. I always tell my clients like what now takes me 2 hours took me like 10 hours in terms of output of content. So just keep putting your reps in. Like even those days where you're like, I literally just spent 2 hours editing one reel. I promise, like it now takes me like 15 minutes, but it's taken a lot of time. So just take time, like just keep putting your reps in. Like even for me now, like I have like a whole content team that helps me, but I'm still dedicated to my 2 hours a week of sitting and doing that content to just be like, make sure that I'm putting original ideas out every week. All right. Okay. One more question or two more before we go. We'll do Yukino and then Manal and then we'll wrap up.
So my niche is sustainable fashion, but actually I'm weaving in like mindfulness practices and understanding like our habits and our programming and what we've been told like throughout our life so people can really understand and build a connection to themselves to understand their style. And Chloe calls this like PhD brain, but I feel like I'm struggling to really communicate like what I'm about fully in like short videos or in my content. And how do you think about like breaking up the entirety of like what you offer in like short videos or posts?
Yeah, I love it. So kind of like what I teach my clients and what I like to think about is like we're like complex beings, right? Like there's so many layers to us, right? Like we're talking about this video about social media, but I'm like, I love to bake and I love to cook and I have a little puppy and there's so many other parts of me that you guys may never even know, right? Because we just may never get to it. Same thing with your content. So it's like you can have this big overarching like brand, but the content are just individual pieces of that brand. So I almost want you to think of like what maybe feels overwhelming right now as your secret weapon and your war chest, that you have so many ideas that you can pull from and turn into tangible bite-sized pieces of content.
How do you know you're targeting like the right niche if it's just one small piece of like the entirety of your brand?
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to put out content at scale, like 1 post a day, 3 posts a week, like you have so many opportunities to reach the right people. So even if one post is about why you shouldn't shop at Shein and the next post is about Save the Turtles, well, maybe the here's why you shouldn't shop at Shein person doesn't really care about turtles. But the turtle person is like, oh, they care about both. So at the end of the day, you want to just think about opportunity and how many opportunities there are to reach so many people. And don't feel like every piece of content needs to be perfect, because there's some pieces of content that resonate with people that don't know me, but then there's some people that resonate with that do know me. And that this is the game of content creation. Like over your whole span of your business, you're going to put out like hopefully 1 million pieces of content. So there will be plenty of opportunity for you to reach all the right people in the right timing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Manal.
Hi, Julia. It's been great.
Hi.
All of this information. My mind is
You're
calm.
welcome. I'm so happy you love it.
My question is more so, I'm just starting out. So I'm in the very early stages, figuring out even my niche and how to translate my previous experience in social impact. So I am wondering, how well does content when you're creating a funnel in Instagram do when you don't put a face to the brand in itself? A lot of what I want to offer is different information in social justice and restorative spaces. But that down is obviously a process, but I'm not comfortable fully putting my face to what I'm just yet. But I don't want that to stop me.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so I think there's 2 things we could do. One might feel like so bizarre, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. Like you could literally hire someone to be the face of the brand. That's something you could do. You could do like an AI generated person. And lastly is, yeah, you could do faceless. Like if we think of Boss Babe, right? That's a faceless Instagram account. It's just like quotes and it's called a theme page. So what it could be, and this is probably more likely what you're going to follow, is the theme page style, where like I would look at other successful theme pages, like Boss Babe is the first one that comes to mind. I'll have to rack my brain for like a few others, or like those motivational quote accounts. And
There's We the Urban. We the Urban is
yes,
really one of like
exactly. So that would be how you want to run it. And what I would do when I tell all my clients is like, you want to study that and be like, what's working on that page? How can I take away what's working and make it my own?
So when you say what's working, outside of looking at vanity metrics, what are you essentially looking for when you're saying like what's working?
What they're doing right now. Because the thing about these pages that we know so well, like Boss Babe, We the Urban, for me, I love Lenny the Ghost. Do you know him?
Yeah.
I love that page. I don't follow theme pages. That's like the only one I follow. Like I love his page. Well, maybe not Lenny, but Lenny grew in COVID, but We the Urban and Boss Babe have just been around for so long. So what you want to look at is like the current strategy and what they're currently doing. I do know that people pay for shout outs. So like if that's something you want to explore, like a big theme page like We the Urban, you could pay them. I mean, and this is always the thing. I see someone says here about an abundance mindset. It's the same thing. If you just reach out and be like, hey, how much is it for a shout out? Like that could be a good way to start and boost an account like this. Once again, it could be like $50 or it could be like $500. If it's $500, I'd probably say no. But if it's like $50, like, yeah, for your first 1,000 followers, who knows where it could go. I would definitely have some content on the page first though, before you are to do something like that. But I would say like, if you're going to do it organic, same thing, that top of funnel content, see what kind of top of funnel your competitors do and see how you could repost or remake it your own.
Thank you.
And the last thing I'll say there is like the biggest thing for theme pages is shares. So like when someone's going to see a quote, like what are they going to share to their story so the rest of their followers see? That's really how those pages grow. One last thing. I'm like getting all these ideas as we're wrapping up this question, but I actually have a client that teaches you how to build a faceless theme page. So if that's something you're interested in, I could definitely connect you.
Because I think a huge part of figuring out like an offer that's valuable that piggyback off of what Yukino said, like my PhD brain, getting it to make it digestible to the person that's like seeing this, just giving them value and then having them repost that, but not really sure of like how to constantly like funnel that to a consistent workflow. That makes sense.
So what are you selling right now?
I'm at a place where I'm still figuring it out. It's either a coaching program, or it'll be like a full range of services for marketing materials, like a creative agency boiled down.
Yeah.
The a la carte menu in a sense.
Yeah. So what I would say is like right now, the strategy is not to sell until you have the clarity on the offer. The strategy is just to grow. So if the strategy is to grow, it doesn't really matter the back-end sales funnel because we're not equipped to put that in place yet. So something I teach my clients all the time is the theory of constraints. Have you heard of this before? So basically what it means is like, there's probably a million things I could go fix right now in my business that are broken, but there's only one thing that's actually the constraint. So what we have to do as entrepreneurs is we have to think about what is the constraint. So when you ask me that question, my brain, because I do this like 10 billion times a day talking to myself in the mirror, is like, is the constraint sales? Because I said, hey, do you have an offer? You said no. So the constraint is how do I, let's say, maybe get my first 1,000 followers? And in that case, the strategy is very different than like, how do I make my first sale? That helpful?
Yes, it was.
All right, awesome. Well, really great call, everyone. I would love to hear another question that I always ask my clients at the end of our calls. What was your biggest takeaway? Your biggest learning, something you're going to put into action? What was your biggest takeaway from this call? Let me know in the chat. Greet everyone that enters my coffee shop. Yes, that's so good. I should make a video about that. I'll have to think about how I want to put it out there though. Especially for you, Patricia. That's a good one because you're in networking. So I love that. I love it. Super sharp. 100% the relationships. Yes, Meg. Transformation statement in the bio. Use ChatGPT. Yes, I literally paid my friend to teach me ChatGPT. I was like, teach me. She's like a ChatGPT AI coach. I'm like, teach me everything you need to know. I want to pay you, like treat me like I'm a client. And she taught me my biggest takeaway. You can upload screenshots to ChatGPT. So if you create like a carousel, you could just upload the screenshots of this carousel and be like, ask it a question about the screenshots. So that's a little nugget from my $500 coaching call. Okay, the reminder that I get to choose my hard. Yes, Annalicia, choose your hard. I love that. Yeah, that is like my motivation every day. Like, I think that one is like sometimes we just have these little mantras, and that is one that's always stuck with me like through everything. Clarify where I am in my process and letting what other pieces that would be helpful later fall to the side till I'm there. Focus on the top of funnel content, hooks to break out of what your audience understands, good stuff. Focus more on relationships, nurturing audience. All right, my friends, this was fabulous. I enjoyed this so much. I only have really amazing things to say about you all. I would so love to connect with you guys. So feel free to message me on Instagram, follow me. I'll also leave my Instagram handle here if you guys want to copy and paste that, because I know it is very difficult to spell. That's why we're like rebranding some of our stuff to make it easier when I go on like guest speaking and podcasts. I could just be like, go here, because it'll be a lot easier. But it was so lovely to meet you all. Thank you so much, Annalisa, Meg, Manal. Thank you guys. I really enjoyed this. Anything comes up, shoot me a DM. I'm here for you. My DMs and my coffee shop's always open. All right. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.